Greeting learners. In this lesson, we are going to understand pointers, which is one of the most important topics of C language. This lesson starts with explaining the layout of the primary memory of a machine and goes on to define pointers. The address of operator can be used to obtain the address of a variable, which is discussed next, followed by the discussion on dereferencing of a pointer variable. Dereferencing is the process of fetching the data pointed at by a pointer variable. The lesson goes on to the next topic, which is the double pointer, pointer to another pointer. This is also a difficult topic to understand, but we will make it simpler for you. Sometimes we need to have a pointer type variables which are not associated with a particular data type. They are known as void pointers, which is discussed next. The lesson concludes with a discussion on function pointers. Let us start this lesson with setting the context and some basic definitions. Pointers have been a perpetual source of confusion and fear among the student community. We will try to explain this complex topic in as simple words as possible. But before moving on to the discussion about pointers, we need to understand the memory structure of a machine, especially the primary memory. Very broadly speaking, a machine has three types of memory. The secondary memory, which is your hard disk, is used for permanent storage. This is the place where you keep all your stuff like videos, documents, and images. When you create a new C program file using any editor of your choice, the file gets created in the secondary memory. Every time you attempt to save changes made to your file, it gets saved in the file created earlier, which is residing in your secondary memory. The second type of memory is the primary memory, which is also known as the RAM. This is a temporary storage, which means the moment power goes off, RAM will not be able to retain its data. But accessing data stored in a RAM is much faster than accessing data from the permanent storage. Apart from the secondary memory and the primary memory, we have registers. They are also very small but very fast chunks of memory available to computing units only. Every computing unit has its own set of registers, which are used for storing the temporary and the final results of calculations made by the computing units. We have already seen in one of our videos that you can make requests for memory allocation in the registers by prefixing the variable declaration statement with the register keyword. Barring such cases in this or any other video, unless otherwise stated, whenever we talk about memory, it will always mean the primary memory. When you run your C program or any other program for that matter, the operating system loads the program from the hard disk into the RAM and starts executing it. In other words, your program resides permanently in the secondary storage or the hard disk, but at the time of execution, it is loaded and executed in the primary memory or the RAM. And hence, any statement of your program that requests memory to be allocated is actually requesting for the primary memory. For example, we know that defining a variable allocates memory for it. Since your program is running in the primary memory, variable definition allocates a chunk of primary memory for it. The same is applicable to dynamic memory allocation. Function calls which allocates memory dynamically actually allocate memory chunks in the primary memory. In order to understand pointers and operations associated with them, we will consider a simple model of primary memory. In this model, the primary memory can be visualized as a two-dimensional matrix. Each cell of this matrix represents one unit of memory. Usually, byte is the unit of memory, but sometimes it could be chunks of byte known as a word. Going forward, unless otherwise stated, we will assume byte to be the unit of memory. Therefore, in our simplified model of primary memory, each cell represents one addressable unit of memory, which is a byte in our case. Each memory unit has an associated address. The numbers appearing at the top left corner of the cell represent the address of that byte. For example, the highlighted bytes of memory have addresses of 112 and 130. Note that these addresses are arbitrary numbers, chosen for the illustration purpose only. The actual addresses are long integer values. We will shortly see some examples of real memory addresses. This simplified visualization of the primary memory will help us greatly in understanding the concept of pointers. Now, let us cast our attention to defining pointers. But before that, we should quickly recapitulate the process of variable creation. Variable definition statements like this one makes the compiler allocate 4 bytes for the variable named var. It has been assumed that integer requires 4 bytes for storage. The memory space allocated for var can be accessed either through the name of the variable var, which has been mapped with the memory location, or through the address of the memory location. C language allows direct access of memory locations and manipulation of the value stored at that location. This provision gives you significant flexibility, but one has to be very careful while dealing with memory. Reckless handling of memory may lead to a program crashes. If we want to work directly with the memory locations, we should know how to obtain the address of the memory location, which we would like to access. This will be covered later when we will deal with the address of operator. Apart from obtaining the addresses of the memory location, we also need some mechanism to store the addresses. Pointers come in handy here. We are all set to formally define pointers. Pointers are those data types which store the address of memory locations. An int type of variable will hold an integer number. A float type of variable will hold a floating point number. Likewise, a pointer type variable will hold the address of a memory location. It is important to understand that pointer variables hold the address of a single addressable unit of memory, which is byte in most of the cases. Like any other variable, before we can work with pointer variable, we need to declare and define them. Let us see how to declare and define pointer type variables. This is how pointer variables are declared. The declaration begins with a data type like int, char and float, or even user-defined data types like structures. The significance of prefixing the data type in a pointer declaration statement will be explained in a while. The data type declaration is followed by an asterisk or star. The use of asterisk in this declaration plays no special role, except telling the compiler that the identifier name following the asterisk is a pointer type variable. The asterisk is followed by the name of the pointer variable. Through this declaration, pointer variable name has been declared to be capable of holding address of memory bytes. For example, this statement declares an integer type pointer variable, whereas this statement declares a floating type pointer variable. And this statement declares a person type pointer variable where person is a user-defined structure. We will discuss structures and the struct keyword in another video. You must have noticed that pointer type variable declaration involves specifying the data type of the pointer variable too. If pointers are supposed to hold the address of a single unit of memory location, then why do we need to declare the data type of a pointer variable? This is very interesting question, and it will be answered when we discuss dereferencing of pointers. By this time, we have understood the definition and declaration of pointer variables against the backdrop of a simplified model of the memory layout of the computer. The next section explains how to obtain the base address of a variable.